The day my daughter-in-law, Sarah, left her 2 boys at my doorstep is etched in my memory like a scar. It was a gray morning, the kind where the sun seemed unwilling to rise. She appeared suddenly, the kids still in their pajamas, holding nothing but a small backpack each. "Can you keep them for a while?" she asked, her voice trembling but oddly rushed. Before I could process her words, she shoved the boys into my arms, kissed them quickly on the forehead, and walked away without looking back. "Wait! Sarah!" I shouted, panic flooding my chest. "What do you mean for a while? Where are you going?" But she didn't answer. The slam of her car door echoed like a final goodbye. Moments later, the engine roared and the vehicle sped off, disappearing down the street. I stood there frozen, the 2 boys, Ethan only 6 and Liam, barely 3, clinging to me, tears streaming down their faces. "Grandma," Ethan whimpered, "Mommy said she'll come back soon, right?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. How could I answer a child's question when I didn't know the truth myself? I knelt down, hugging them tightly. "Don't worry, sweethearts. You're safe with me. I'll take care of you." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. No calls. No visits. Sarah had vanished as though she'd never existed. My son, their father, had passed away years earlier, leaving me as their only anchor. I filed for temporary guardianship to protect the boys legally. The court granted it without much objection, since Sarah was nowhere to be found. I became their guardian, but in reality, I became their everything. Parent, teacher, comforter, and protector. And as time passed, those little boys filled the house with laughter again. I watched them grow, learn, and heal. I thought maybe, just maybe, Sarah had left for good and wouldn't come back, but I was wrong. Because 4 years later, she returned. And when she did, she didn't come knocking with tears or apologies. She came with something much colder, much crueler. A lawsuit. She was accusing me, the woman who had raised her sons in her absence, of kidnapping. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. I thought it was just another piece of mail. Bills, maybe a notice from the bank. But when I tore open the envelope, my heart nearly stopped. It was a legal notice. Sarah had filed a lawsuit against me. The bold words seared into my eyes. Petition for custody and allegations of kidnapping. I reread it over and over, hoping it was some cruel mistake. Kidnapping. I had raised these boys for 4 long years, wiped their tears, held their hands on the first day of school, and sat by their beds when they were sick. How could she dare accuse me of stealing them? That night, I couldn't sleep. The boys, now 10 and 7, were laughing in the living room, oblivious to the storm that was about to descend on us. Ethan was telling Liam about his dream of becoming a soccer player, while Liam proudly showed me a drawing he'd made of our little family. Just the 3 of us. "Grandma," Ethan said suddenly, his eyes wide, "do you think Mom will ever come back?" My throat tightened. I couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth. That she had come back, but not for hugs or second chances. She had come back to tear them away from the only home they had known. I met with my lawyer the next morning. He skimmed through the papers and sighed heavily. "She's claiming you unlawfully kept the children from her. She's demanding full custody. And given that she's their biological mother, the court might take her seriously, unless we prove otherwise." My hands trembled. But she abandoned them. She left them with nothing, not even food or clothes. She never called, never sent a letter. "I've raised them alone." The lawyer nodded grimly. "I believe you. But the court doesn't run on belief. It runs on evidence. We'll need to show proof: school records, medical bills, witnesses who saw you caring for them, everything." That night, as I sat at the kitchen table gathering documents, I felt anger rising in my chest. Sarah hadn't cared enough to even check if her sons were alive for 4 years. And now, just because she decided to walk back into their lives, she thought she could take them away from me. But I wasn't going to let that happen. For Ethan and Liam, I would fight. No matter what it took. The day of the first court hearing arrived. My stomach was in knots as I held Ethan and Liam's hands tightly, trying to hide my fear from them. They didn't understand the full weight of what was happening, only that their mother, whom they barely remembered, was suddenly back in the picture. When Sarah walked into the courtroom, she was almost unrecognizable. Perfectly styled hair, expensive clothes, and a smug smile plastered across her face. She looked nothing like the woman who had once left her children at my doorstep with a cold "You'll handle it." Her lawyer wasted no time. "Your Honor," he began, his voice slick and rehearsed, "my client was forced, under difficult circumstances, to leave her children temporarily in the care of their grandmother. She always intended to return, but was denied access. For years, the defendant, this grandmother, kept these boys from their mother, essentially committing kidnapping." My heart pounded in my ears. "Lies, all lies." My lawyer rose. "With respect, Your Honor, this is a complete fabrication. For 4 years, Sarah never attempted contact. No phone calls, no letters, no visits. We have school officials, neighbors, and doctors ready to testify that the grandmother alone raised these boys. She was abandoned with them, and did everything a true parent should do." Sarah interrupted, her voice dripping with fake tears. "That's not true. I was struggling. I had no money, no support. I trusted her to watch my kids for a while, and when I tried to come back into their lives, she shut me out. She brainwashed my boys against me." I wanted to scream, but I bit my tongue. The judge's stern gaze silenced the room. The boys were asked to step outside while the adults spoke. My chest ached as I watched them leave, unaware that their entire future was being decided inside this cold room. Sarah turned to the judge again, her hand on her chest, as if she were the picture of a heartbroken mother. "Your Honor, I just want my children back." "Is that such a crime? They deserve their mother." And then came the part that broke me. The judge leaned forward and asked the question I dreaded. "Why should I believe you over the grandmother, when you have no documented proof of your attempts to return?" Sarah froze, her mask cracking for the first time. My lawyer seized the moment. "Exactly, Your Honor. She has no proof, because she never tried. Meanwhile, my client has documented every school enrollment, every medical visit, every bill. She was their lifeline." I sat there, my fists clenched, knowing this was only the beginning. Sarah wasn't going to give up easily. She had money now, influence, and a sharp tongue. But I had something stronger: the truth. And 2 little boys who called me Mom. The next hearing brought an even heavier weight on my shoulders. The judge had ordered testimonies from people who had been part of the boys' lives. My lawyer assured me that this was our chance to prove the truth. Still, I couldn't shake the fear. What if the court still favored their biological mother, no matter what she had done? The boys were called in, sitting nervously in their small chairs. Ethan, the older one, gripped Liam's hand tightly. The judge spoke gently, trying to ease them. "Do you both understand why you're here today?" he asked. Ethan nodded. "Yes, sir. It's because she..." He glanced at Sarah briefly, then looked back at the judge. "She left us. Grandma didn't. Grandma took care of us." Liam's little voice followed, almost whispering. "She didn't even call us on our birthdays." Sarah's face turned pale. She tried to interrupt, but the judge silenced her. "Let them finish." Ethan continued, his voice trembling but strong. "Grandma makes our lunches, helps us with homework, and she reads us stories every night. She's the only mom we've ever had. Please don't take us away." My heart broke and soared at the same time. Tears filled my eyes, and even the courtroom seemed moved. I noticed the judge's stern expression soften slightly. Next came the witnesses. Our neighbors, teachers, even the family doctor. They all painted the same picture: a grandmother who sacrificed everything to give 2 boys a safe, loving home. She never missed an appointment. The doctor testified. "Those boys are healthy and thriving because of her." Sarah grew angrier with each word. She hissed at her lawyer, her calm head cracking more with every testimony. Finally, my lawyer presented a binder thick with documents: school enrollment forms, report cards, medical records, grocery bills, photographs of birthdays and holidays. 4 years' worth of undeniable evidence. "Your Honor," he said firmly, This isn't a grandmother keeping children from their mother. This is a mother abandoning her children. And a grandmother stepping into the role of parent without complaint. Sarah stood abruptly, her voice shaking with rage. This is unfair. She's turning everyone against me. They're my kids. The judge's gavel slammed. Enough. Sit down, Miss Sarah. The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt the tide beginning to turn. The truth was shining through the cracks in Sarah's lies. But I knew. It wasn't over yet. She still had one final move left, and I had to be ready. The day of the final hearing arrived, and the courtroom buzzed with tension. I clutched the boy's picture in my hand, silently praying. My lawyer whispered, "We're in a strong position, but stay prepared. Desperate people do desperate things." And desperate she was. Sarah walked in with a smug smile, holding her phone like it was a weapon. Her lawyer announced, "Your Honor, we have new evidence that proves my client's intentions were never abandonment. In fact, she's been in contact with her children all these years. She sent money, messages, and gifts. This woman simply intercepted them." Gasps filled the courtroom. Sarah quickly pulled up screenshots of supposed messages. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Mommy loves you. I'll come back soon." The judge leaned forward. "Is this true?" he asked me. I shook my head firmly. "I've never seen a single one of those messages. Neither have the boys." My lawyer rose immediately. "Your Honor, we ask for a forensic analysis of her device. If she truly sent these messages, there will be digital proof." The judge agreed. Within minutes, an expert was called to review the data. As the minutes dragged, I held my breath. Finally, the expert looked up. "These messages are fabricated. They were created less than 3 weeks ago. None of them were actually sent to the children." The courtroom erupted. Sarah's face drained of color as her lies shattered under the harsh light of truth. Ethan and Liam clung to me, their small voices trembling. "We told you, Grandma, she didn't care." The judge banged his gavel for silence. Sarah, attempting to deceive this court with falsified evidence is a serious offense. This will be factored into my decision." Sarah exploded, screaming. "You can't do this. They're mine. She stole them from me." Her lawyer tried to calm her, but it was too late. The mask was gone. Everyone could see her for who she really was. A selfish woman who had abandoned her children, and now wanted them back only to soothe her pride. I sat quietly, holding the boys close. For the first time in years, I didn't feel fear. I felt strength. Because the truth was finally undeniable. But I knew one more step remained, the judge's ruling. And everything would depend on it. The courtroom was silent, the air heavy with anticipation. The judge adjusted his glasses, looking from Sarah to me, and finally to the 2 boys sitting quietly in the corner, their small hands gripping each other. "I have reviewed the evidence." He began slowly, his voice steady. "This case is not only about legal rights but about the well-being of 2 innocent children. Miss Sarah abandoned her children for years, failed to provide support, and then attempted to mislead this court with fabricated evidence. Such actions demonstrate a lack of fitness as a parent." Sarah's lawyer tried to interrupt, but the judge raised his hand. "Therefore," he continued, "I grant full and permanent custody to their grandmother, Mrs. Evelyn." The words echoed like thunder. My knees nearly gave way, tears streaming down my face as Ethan and Liam ran into my arms, whispering, "Grandma, we're staying with you forever." Sarah screamed, slamming her hands on the table. "This isn't fair! They're my children!" But no one moved to support her. Even her lawyer looked defeated. The judge's gavel struck, sealing the decision. When we walked out of the courtroom, sunlight spilled through the tall windows, warm and golden. For the first time in years, the weight that had crushed me lifted. I wasn't just a caretaker anymore. I was their legal guardian, their protector, their family. Outside, Ethan looked up at me and said softly, "Grandma, can we finally go home and not be scared anymore?" I hugged them tighter than ever. "Yes, my loves. No more fear. You're safe now. Forever." Sarah's figure lingered at the courthouse steps, shouting empty threats, but I didn't even turn back. She had lost her power over us. I had won. Not because I wanted revenge, but because love, truth, and patience had prevailed. And as we drove home together, their laughter filling the car, I realized something important. Sometimes the strongest warriors aren't the ones who fight with swords, but the ones who fight with love, endurance, and unshakable faith. This wasn't just a victory in court. It was the beginning of a new life.